Before we start. So first thing is please silence your cell phones. You don't have to turn them off because we still want you guys tweeting and sharing, but just silence them, please. You can tweet questions at hashtag IST StartUp and just say who the speaker you're directing your question is at. At the end, you can pick up your passport stickers in the back of the room. If you don't have a passport yet, just they'll have passports back there for you to take. And you may be photographed or filmed in this session, so if you're uncomfortable with that, please move toward the back of the room, and then you can come up to me or Lauren at the end of the session. And now we're going to introduce them.
Hi, everyone. Matt Brezina is co-founder and CEO of Sincerely, a mobile gifting startup whose mission it is to help the world be more thoughtful. Postogram, Sincerely's first product, enables users to send real postcards made from photos taken with Instagram. Sincerely's Ink Cards application offers hundreds of greeting card designs that can easily be personalized and mailed from a mobile phone. Sesame, Sincerely's newest service, makes it easy to mail a themed gift sent in a beautiful box. The Sincerely network has more than 1.4 million members who have sent cards and gifts to over 900,000 homes. Sincerely was founded in 2011 and is backed by $3 million in venture capital. Brezina also co-founded
Zobni,
excuse me. An email software company that makes your inbox and address book smarter. Zobni and its smarter phone suite discovers all the people you've ever called, emailed, or messaged and creates complete social profiles that are instantly searchable. Zobni's application for Microsoft Outlook, which has been downloaded for more than 10 million times, was launched the next generation of social networking by Bill Gates in 2008. Zobni has appeared in the New York Times, the Wall Street Journal, and numerous other publications. Zobni was first founded in 2006 and is backed by $40 million in venture capital. Brezina is also an active angel investor, having invested in companies such as Dropbox, Boxer, Edison Jr., Rescale, 15Five, Orchestra, and more. He graduated from Penn State in 2003 with a BS in electrical engineering. Now I'm going to introduce Theresa, his mother. As sales and marketing professional, Theresa has served as a Leah Sophia advisor since 2005. Through extensive networking, she's built a profile, high-end costume, jewelry business, and now is in her role as region manager. She oversees a team of more than 200 sales consultants who average 2.5 million in annual sales. Her diverse background also includes serving as an administrator and fundraising positions for healthcare, educational, and religious institutions. Brezina earned an associate's degree in healthcare management from Westmoreland County Community College. She enjoys both foreign and domestic travel. Other hobbies include ballroom dancing, hiking, and the arts. A state college resident for 26 years, Brezina is married and has 3 children.
So now I'm going to introduce David Hua. David Hua is an entrepreneur, marketer, problem solver, and team builder. Currently, he is the head of platform at Sincerely Inc., a startup helping the world become more thoughtful. Sincerely creates apps that allow users to send physical gifts, ranging from personalized postcards and greeting cards to themed gifts to the people they care about the most. Hua was instrumental in creating the Postogram Engage app, a service that allows brands to utilize mobile photo teams to take photos of their guests and send them to the guests with branded postcards. Hua collaborates with iOS developers and the Sincerely Ship Library API, which allows third-party apps to send postcards. Previously, Hua served as Vice President of Content at Health Central and Director of Blogger Relations at Wellsphere. Before that, he was VP of Marketing at Genesis Interactive, a company that he helped found in 2006. GI launched Got Game, a revolutionary social gaming platform that changed the manner in which online gamers communicate, as well as discover and access content. GI raised $1.2 million through various angel networks. Prior to working at GI, Hua worked in Latin American Equity Research Sales Department and was a salesman on the institutional foreign exchange desk at Citigroup. In addition, he served as the manager and producer for Downtown Harvest, an indie band based out of Philadelphia. Hua is passionate about business and curious about many aspects of life. He hopes to inspire and learn from those he is connected with while spreading his positive attitude to make things happen. Hua is a 2004 graduate of the Smeal College of Business with a degree in finance and international business. So now I'll turn it over to them.
Thank you. Can everybody hear this mic? Is it coming through? No? Can you hear this? Can you hear this? Test, 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 test. I'll try to move it higher. How about that? Can you hear me in the back? Cool. All right, thanks everybody for coming. I always find this room very awkward because you're very far away. I can see like tops of heads back there, not faces. And then there's no whiteboard to write on. It's very different than classrooms I guess we had when I was here. So the first thing we want to do is actually get a pulse of the room to try to understand who this audience is. So I see some people I know, like the Peanut Gallery over here, like they call themselves successful entrepreneurs from San Francisco. But I want to know who else is here. So maybe we can start by how many people are freshmen? Represent. Thanks for being here, guys. Sophomores? Juniors? And seniors? All right, all right. Okay. Cool. And then how about some majors? How many people here are IST? How about from the engineering school? How about from the business school? And communications? Yeah, I got one. What's up, man? Let's see. What are some others I missed? Sciences? Biology? What, SRA? Yeah. That's the security one? Yep. Cool. How many people are from that? Awesome. What else should we ask them to get a pulse? How many people here are Penn Staters? We are! How many people are not Penn Staters? Wow.
All right, good.
Cool. Anything else?
That's great.
All right.
Good pulse.
All right. So we want to start off actually with a few quotes that inspire all of us about what it is to succeed and honestly how that relates to the path to get there. And Mom, if you can actually start with yours.
Okay, I chose a quote by Howard Schultz. I believe life is a series of near misses. A lot of what we ascribe to luck is not luck at all. It's seizing the day and accepting responsibility for the future. It's seeing what other people do not see and pursuing that vision.
That's nice. I chose a Chinese quote. It's called "Ke Ngao Wan Ma."
Who knows what that means?
It actually means ride cow, find horse. And the meaning of it is, I think as we traveled our path in life, ideally you want to find the thing that you want. And oftentimes it's a horse. It rides fast, it's awesome. Sometimes you can't get there without riding a cow first. And sometimes by riding the cow, you're going to get there faster than walking. Although you didn't get the horse yet, eventually you'll get there. So, Ke Ngao Wan Ma.
Got that.
All right. And I saw this quote on Twitter recently. I really loved it. It said, "Success is the ability to go from failure to failure without losing your enthusiasm." And that was from Churchill. And I think maybe the things that we'll talk about today are embodied in those quotes, and we can kind of give specific examples from our path to this point, and our story is just only partially written, but we can talk about some of the failures and some of the decisions we made, and hopefully those will reflect at points you're at in your life and the decisions you're making. So in terms of kind of outlining things we wanted to cover, I thought it'd be cool to start on pre-college. Now everybody here is kind of in college, so these decisions you can't make anymore, but I think they were influential in my life and Hua's life, and I wanted to talk about that a little bit. And then the decisions we made in college. We have freshmen here. It's like you're just at the beginning of this journey. Sophomores and juniors, you're in the meat of this great experience. And seniors, we're in like the last semester. I hope you guys are partying a lot. But the seniors are thinking about the transition out of college. And there's so many big decisions you're making. I think we can talk a lot about the decisions we made at that point in time. And then these decisions don't stop. It's not the age of going and getting a job at a factory for 30 years. People are changing careers constantly. Hua and I both changed careers. Even my mom's changed careers. And so we can talk about that as well. And then really, I think in the case of all these types of talks, the best value comes from questions. And so we're going to leave a lot of time for question and answer. So maybe we can start with the pre-college stuff. I wrote a little bit of this down, so we made sure to cover something interesting. Okay, so maybe I'll start with my mom. And I guess her job up here today is to talk about me, so I don't have to. So maybe you can talk about the things that you saw me do in high school that you think were really valuable to leading to success in college and then after college.
Well, Matt was always, intelligent kid and a pretty easy kid to raise. He was a good kid, And I mean, I didn't know everything, of course, and I want to tell you something too. I have to give him. I mean, honestly, who would do this and allow their mother to be here and not?
I don't even know what's going to come out of her mouth.
Exactly. He hasn't even asked me, and so that's a pretty nice guy. So anyway, he was always a hard worker, and I think that's really important. You guys know that you got to work hard. And he was also, basically, he started when he was very young, looking for making a little extra income, and he started out by cutting the neighbor's lawn. And a lot of kids do that. But Matt took it a little step further, and as we were saying, he started upselling. So he would cut the grass, and then he'd say, I can cut your bushes, I can clean your gutters, I can scrub your porch, that type of thing. And he started making a nice income and realized really quick that he could make a lot more money doing a couple hours of yard work than he could work in a week in McDonald's. And then he started thinking, okay, and if I can take that money I made and invest in some lawnmowers and some other things, I could, make more money, do more jobs. And he started advertising, and he started building up this little business. Then actually, after he started making money, I remember this clear as a bell one day, and I thought he was around 12. But he may have been a little older. He said, Mom, I'm really getting tired of the interest rate I'm getting at the credit union. He said, I really would like to invest in mutual funds. And I was like, oh my God, I can't believe he just said that. But, that should have been a sign to me. But anyway, so he looked that way. And where was I? So when it came to school, he was always working hard and getting involved in a lot of things, and I don't know where else to go from that as far as that point.
Hua, how about for you in high school? Like, what were you doing, and how has it contributed to what you're doing today?
Yeah, so I worked in a Chinese restaurant called the Golden Dragon. It's in the Plymouth Square Shopping Center in Conshohocken, Pennsylvania.
Best Chinese in eastern Pennsylvania.
My whole family works there. It's been there for about 31 years now. I did everything from peeling onions and shrimp to washing dishes, hosting a little bit. Then I got good at the cash register, so I just started handling cash. And similar to Matt, I think upselling is a fantastic skill. And I think making a game helps a lot too. So I would have a game every time I'm up there is how much I could upsell on the phone as orders would come on. So like, would you like another egg roll? Would you like another wonton soup? And it works. So I think that helps. And I think another thing with upselling and all that is competing with yourself often helps. So make it a game, compete with yourself, see if you can do better than the night before, the week before.
That's a good.
Mm-hmm.
One thing to add from that time period for me is I distinctly remember just being really focused on like the quality of my product. At the time, like my product was the lines that appeared on the people's lawn after it was mown. Like I wanted to have beautiful, perfect lines, and I didn't want to have any tree that had extra grass sprouting around. I'd take my weed whacker around that, and then I'd blow off the street and the driveway after I mowed the lawn. And my mom will say this, like our neighbor who doesn't have me mowing the lawn anymore, or all the other clients, like they would say, like, we can't get somebody that does that good of a job. I just took a lot of pride in that work. And, there's actually another quote in here. Actually, maybe I read it somewhere else. It was like, no matter what you do it well. So if you're mowing the lawn, or I was a janitor and I worked at an elementary school and I cleaned toilets and bathrooms, and I was like really into making that bathroom look awesome when I left. So no matter what you do, or if it's building a company someday, do it well. Let's talk about the decision to go to college and kind of how that influenced our future. So maybe Hua, how did you decide on Penn State, and what was going on there?
A lot of my uncles went to Penn State. I don't know how many of you have other family members who went to Penn State. Yeah, fair amount. You just get put in the water or something. So yeah, I went there, and then I got into, I guess I was deciding between Carnegie Mellon, Penn State, and I decided to go to Penn State. I got in the Schreier's Honors College. I think that tipped me over. It was an opportunity to be at a big school where there's a ton of opportunity and a ton of people to network with and hang out with and get exposure to that I loved. And I also loved the football program and everything else. So that's how I decided.
Cool. My mom recalls some of the decision process for me, maybe even better than I do. So,
Well, Matt, he always dreamed of an Ivy League school. And unfortunately, our budget wouldn't cover an Ivy League school. And I was always really conscious of our finances, and I didn't want the kids to come out of school with too much debt. And so I just, we suggested we don't have any Penn State roots other than the fact that we live here. My husband went to Pitt, and that was actually really bad when we moved here, to be a Pitt alumni. Had a hard time finding a doctor that would take us. But anyway, it's the truth. So anyway, Matt got into the Schreiers, which, what we thought was an excellent program because it did bring the hugeness of the university down to a small group, and he really thrived in that and decided that's what he would do.
And the key here is that one of the really big things I appreciated about it is that I feel like I got a great education, but I also came out of school with zero debt. I got scholarships. My parents helped for part of it at a much lower cost. And I was free to do whatever I wanted when I graduated. I was not beholden to some loans that I had to pay back. And that put me in a really powerful position, I think. And I'm sure some of you guys have loans here. They suck, and get them paid off, because otherwise they're going to control your destiny.
Can I add?
Yeah.
And I just want to add to that. That actually, so when it came to grad school, or working type thing, Matt, it was a decision: should I go to grad school? Should I go to work? He could have done either. My husband went to grad school after we were married and had one child, and we're like, do it now, especially if you can get funding for it, because it's a lot more difficult to do when you have a family. I mean, anything when you have other responsibilities. So he did get, a great fellowship to go to grad school, and that's what he did. But kind of moving forward a little bit, when he decided to quit grad school and start the business, again, the finances were a big important part of it. I was very, very supportive of him taking the leap to start a business, because I just feel like you've got to follow your passion, and if you don't do it now, you'll always regret that you didn't try, and you're not going to lose. With the Y Combinator thing, I'm like, that's like, I told him, an MBA in a bottle. That was what I thought it would be like. My husband was opposite. He said, go to grad school, you're doing, follow that path. But I think it's important to follow your passion. Again, he didn't have debt to worry about, because I wanted him to follow his passion, but I wasn't going to pay his bills. So that's just I
had to do it myself, and making good decisions about finances on the way there, including Penn State, scholarships, etc., was a really good decision, I think. Hua, what did you study in undergrad?
Finance.
Did you start out in finance?
Yeah, finance IB.
Maybe we can talk a bit about things that we did in college that we think were really valuable experiences in the major, outside the major.
Sure. So I lived in Atherton Hall. I think one of the great things about Penn State, and especially here, and just meeting a lot of different people and helping out wherever you can, I distinctly remember, actually, one thing that happened in school was I met a girl named Monica, and she is friends with Matt. And Matt so happens was running for president of the school, and I didn't meet him yet, and I just started campaigning and helping him. Yeah, right? Yeah, everyone was campaigning for this
My
guy.
mom was driving a van around with like banners on the side, music blasting.
Seriously, I got to tell you this. What he did was he sent me the schedule of the class changes, and I had to drive my van throughout the campus when you were all switching classes. It was crazy. I
Smart.
would leave work, drive my van.
And we lost by
go back.
2% of the vote. It was a great experience.
So that was pretty cool, and you know, since then we've carried out that relationship, but started from just helping a friend with a project that she's working on. So that was pretty cool. I got involved with a lot of activities here. I don't know if anyone's a line ambassador or in the Greek system. I did that. I was in PSIA, which is like an investment association. Actually, that's a couple alums from there, and that's how I got into finance.
What was valuable about the fraternities?
You can party pretty.
But why is that valuable?
I think a lot of it's just like there's awkwardness sometimes when you're meeting new people, and when you're in a Greek community, but also other people, you're constantly meeting people all the time, and you're essentially figuring out ways to have fun, but also give back. So Thon was a big organization that we did a lot of work with. I'm sure you guys killed it this year with Thon. That was awesome. Seriously. Our year raised like 2.5, 3 million. You guys.
I saw Thon. I was in the airport in San Diego on Monday, and I saw a Thon sticker on a water bottle, and I gave out a little "We Are." Got it back. It was so good.
Yeah. Yeah. So I got involved in a lot of activities. So if you have the chance to get involved, do it. You get to see a lot of different perspectives and problem solve essentially that you want to get elsewhere.
Well, I was going to say also, when you get involved in other aspects and not just your work or your
Major.
studies, your major, you are building a network and you're diversifying yourself. And that's really important, especially if you're going to start a business.
Yeah.
So we hire people all the time. By the way, we are hiring. If you're a developer, if you're a designer who wants to work on mobile apps, come talk to us. And we don't even really look at GPAs. I look at resumes like every day and like basically don't look at GPAs. Things we look for are basically the things you did outside of class, because it's basically, even people that are in the working world, we look for things they did outside of their jobs, because we're like, that shows passion, that shows initiative, that shows that you care. And so if you're making these decisions, freshmen or juniors, sophomores, how to spend your time in college, for me, I did a jazz band. It was like really important and valuable to me. Even to this day, I still play in bands. That's something that comes across in an interview. That's going to come across in a random conversation whenever you're trying to raise funding and you meet an investor who's also really into jazz. So you have something to identify on. We love seeing people that build projects outside of class, like doing Thon or building a float for the homecoming parade. Like, if you're part of that, did you make one? You're smiling over here. With homecoming? Yeah. So no one's paying you to do that. You're doing it because you care about it. And the effort to go and organize a group of people to go stuff that stuff into all the chicken wire, that's not easy. And that shows a lot of initiative, and it's going to make you a better entrepreneur. It's going to make you somebody that we would like to hire. So these outside of school activities, outside of class, are really important. From my own experience, the other thing that I really found valuable and led to a lot of things down the road for me was my research experience. So basically, this is in my major, but as we all know, or at least maybe you're learning this while you're in college, they don't actually teach you stuff that you can really use in a job. No offense to the teachers in the room. And a lot of them actually haven't done a job other than teaching, so they might not even know what actually happens in the real world. So the place that you actually learn that is doing research, doing projects outside of your coursework. And I can't totally diss on like engineering. We actually did have some good practical projects. But the best stuff that I did was actually with the engineering design group in the engineering college, which was a group of consultants that would take projects from outside companies like the Naval Research Lab or NASA, and we would actually go and build stuff for those clients. And that's what led to my thesis research for undergrad, that led to my PhD research in grad school, that led to my consulting job that actually allowed my co-founder and I to live while we were getting our company off the ground. So that experience was incredibly valuable. If you can find a way to go deep in your major and get practical experience that's applied in the real world, I found that incredibly valuable. Other things I found valuable are, you might not realize this at this point in your life, but the way you treat your body is really important. So, you're probably eating a lot of fried food and chicken cosmos and stuff like that. And then you're probably, you might not be exercising and it's not affecting your body yet, but it will, and it will actually affect your mind as well. And the most valuable thing that I find now, like we just sold the business this year. It was a very stressful process. It was an 8-month process, and I'll tell you, like the thing that got me through it was swimming twice a week, running in the evenings, those types of physical activities that allow you to burn off that energy. And so you should start that practice now while you're in college. So do intramural sports, go for a run, go mountain biking out at Rothrock, go for a road ride. That stuff will carry you. And the most successful CEOs, the most successful people in business, they're usually like up at 6 a.m. exercising before work, or they're taking a break at lunch and going and doing cardio for an hour. So that's super valuable. Okay, anything to add to the college stuff?
Traveling.
Traveling,
Yeah.
Good one, yes.
I don't know if you guys are traveling. If you have a chance, do it. Study abroad. I had a chance to study in Beijing while I was here. Although probably not as good of an idea now. I think the air quality is pretty bad. But Barcelona's cool. Had some time in Paris. Take some trips. It's really good time to see perspective of what's going on.
There's amazing ways the university can help make this happen too. You just have to go search for it.
Yeah.
So I studied abroad in Australia. I did it my sophomore year, which like they said, it's not done. And I just had to run around and get a bunch of paperwork signed, and I got it to happen. And it was like a transformative experience in my life.
Or even when you're done and you graduate, a lot of seniors here, take some time, go travel, backpack.
I spent 3 months in Greece and Bulgaria after graduating, between undergrad and grad.
Yeah, there's
Bulgaria.
Bulgaria?
Yeah, the bull.
Oh, not that story.
Yeah, there are programs out there that you can like work on a farm and they'll pay your way, and there's a lot of stuff out there. So if budget's an issue, just go online and search that out. I totally would recommend it though before.
Another interesting experience. How many people here would say they grew up in a city? Wow, that's amazing, right? Like most of us, a lot of us are Pennsylvanians. We grew up in like suburban areas, small towns. There's other diversity of experiences that happen in cities that you don't get in these small towns where, don't get me started on this.
Yeah,
it's a
please.
big topic for me. But there's so much experience to be had, and we have, like Penn State is in this amazing location where we have this placid, gorgeous environment out here, but we're 3 hours from Philly, we're 4 hours from New York, we're 3.5 hours from DC. Those are major world cities that have some of the best art in the world, that have great minds, performances, things happening. Instead of a weekend out in Frat Row, like get a couple people together and go down to DC for the weekend. Find some friends you can crash with at, GW or something. That will be really valuable for you as well. Because if you're going to go be ambitious after college, you are very likely going to be in a city. That's where the future is invented. That's where great minds come to interact. So I expect a lot of you are going to end up in a city. You should get to understand it now.
Can I just add something?
Yeah.
I just think, and I don't know if it's the city thing or if it's the Y Combinator thing, but what I notice when I'm around these guys or when I go to San Francisco is that the mindset is so different than certainly what I grew up with. Now that's got part of this, different than you, but is that they don't think, okay, this didn't work, now I guess I'm going to have to, let's see who's hiring. Or I have this degree, so here's the list of places that I can work. They don't think like that. They think about what can I do? How can I make my own thing happen? They find it. Even if it's a matter of like walking dogs, like, you know what I mean? Coming up with these unique, Whose wife has a blog?
Yeah.
Does she still have that?
Yeah.
Lick My Spoon, isn't that cute?
Yeah.
And it's called Lick My Spoon, and it's about food and stuff. And I just think it's so creative. They just don't have the walls up. And I think if you can do that, that's huge.
Yeah. Her blog's great. She's an amazing chef and now does private events. Her and Hua get flown all around the world to review food, in Spain, or they go to Hawaii every year. We actually hired her to come and be our chef when our whole team went to Hawaii. It's pretty awesome. So you can just make your own path.
Yeah.
Let's talk about the transition out of college. Hua, what were you thinking when you were graduating, and how did you end up where you went?
I think one of the most valuable things during college and during your summers is take an internship. Find any internship you can. I actually started selling knives. I don't know if you guys have Cutco or Vector Marketing, but I sold a lot of knives.
I need some more.
I did.
He'll sell you some knives right now.
I will. Vegetable peeler. So I sold a lot of knives. Initially, I used it as a way to just get in touch with my friends again that I didn't see after freshman year. And then I did pretty well, and I opened up a branch to teach people how to sell knives. I thought that was cool. I was like 19 years old, like opening an office, selling knives. That was cool. But then I started honing in on my major. I did an internship at Merrill Lynch on the sales and trading floor, and then decided, I want to be in New York. Interviewed and got a job at Citigroup. So I was trading FX and Latin American equities. I did that for a couple years. And I guess, and while I was doing that, I was managing a band that somehow fell into. And I decided, one thing I did after the 2 years was look around the room and say, all right, are these the people that I want to be with? Or are these the people that I want to become? And I was like, no. And I was like, what do I want to do? And decided a buddy of mine said, why don't you start a company, move to San Francisco? Like, okay. And we ended up raising some money from friends and network. And another important thing to keep your network big, because you never know who you're going to be asking money later. So that's important. And then we moved out there.
Cool. For me, I got my degree in electrical engineering, and I did the whole career fair up at the Bryce Jordan thing. I think it's the worst way to get a job on the planet. It's they try to get me to sponsor that, and I'm like, it's just the worst. There's much better ways to talk to companies like us. If you want to talk to us, you should follow me on Twitter at Brezina, and then you should use our apps. And if you're a designer, you should go redesign a couple of our screens and send it to me. It'll get my attention. But you just showing up at some line for some people who came up here for a drinking trip to Penn State because they're supposed to be on a recruiting trip. Anyway, so I did that. I went and went to the career fairs, and I guess I did get a couple job offers. Northrop Grumman, Lockheed Martin, and I could have gone and done that. And I was like, I'm going to go buy that M3 that I've been dreaming about. But I went out and did these interviews, and I also kind of looked the same way Hua did at this world, and I was it was out in some boring suburb, and it just didn't seem exciting. People didn't seem that motivated or excited about what they were doing. And what I was hoping, because I always wanted to build a business, I was hoping maybe I'd meet people there that would want to build a company with me. I didn't see it. And so I looked at a lot of other people in the world and how they'd done it. And a lot of them, it seemed, met their co-founders and stuff in grad school. And I also felt I didn't know enough. My best example is in all these projects that we would do in undergrad. I was studying control systems. We would remove friction from the equation. And then, like I said, I went and did this practical work for the Naval Research Lab. I was building gimbals that would fly underneath planes and simulate foreign missiles. And friction was a really big deal. It was what I spent all my time thinking about. And I was so this thing that really matters, they didn't even teach us in school, I need to get some more schooling. And so that's why I decided to go work on my PhD. And I went to grad school. I was kind of disappointed because they didn't actually teach us about friction. They taught us more theoretical stuff. And so I did the same thing there I did here, as I went and did these projects, internships, continued to work with the Naval Research Lab, started working with NASA, and found these practical problems. And I also thought I would meet all these amazing people in grad school, and I met some, but a lot of them are really interested in theoretics, which is what eventually led me to drop out. Is I met a guy, an MIT student, who lived down in Maryland with me for a summer, and was also interning, working on robotics, and we would come home and talk about ideas. And then 5 months later, he called me up and said, "Hey, I'm thinking about starting this company," in email, and we should do it together. And I wasn't that happy in grad school. I hadn't really met as many people as I'd really hoped. They still didn't teach me about friction. And the best work that I was doing was outside of class, and I jumped at the opportunity. And that's how I got into starting my first company. So I thought the last thing to talk about before we open up to questions is about these career changes. I wouldn't say me going and starting a company out of grad school was a career change, but I think Hua had a really interesting career change, which was the jump from doing the finance work in New York to going and joining up with, what was his name?
Win.
Yeah. Joining up with Win and starting this company. So like, what did your network, your family, what did your friends say when you were going to do this? Because you're leaving a job that's paying really well and going and living in an apartment with 30 interns.
Yeah, that's true. Yeah, I think my mom actually was more like, just do it. I think, yeah. What are you so scared of? There's really no risk when you think about it. You don't have a mortgage to pay. You don't have kids. You end up going bankrupt, which I think we did.
You're already bankrupt, so who
Yeah,
cares?
so who cares? And you're going to build a skill set of experiences that would rival being in any of the best MBA programs in my mind. And so, I like learning through real experience, and that's why I didn't decide to go to do a CFA or MBA or any of those types of things. So I think, one, the risk that you perceive is really not as high as you might think it is. And then the second thing is really you get to create your own destiny, which I think is really rad. I think a lot of the time from high school to college, you're on this path that everyone tells you what you're supposed to do, what classes you need to take. You have a boss. It could be a teacher, or when you graduate, you do have a boss. But you can actually do your own thing and kind of make the mistakes along the way that you need to make in order to learn. So I think those are the two things that really motivated me to go out and do it.
By the way, I hate the word boss. I hate it. It has got like this horrible negative connotation, and I've employed, lots of people, and I would hope no one would ever look at me and say like I was a boss. Even the way like Hua technically reports to me right now, but our relationship isn't like I'm his boss. Like he probably tells me more stuff he needs me to do than I tell him stuff he needs to do. He's out there doing it on his own. He created like lines of business for us, that potentially, were instrumental in us getting acquired that, I didn't tell him to do. So get that thing out of your mind too, this boss thing. Like, I don't want to work with people that think of me as their boss, and I don't want to be anybody's boss.
Coach.
So coach is exactly
being the coach.
the best thing to be. So I guess I had a transition mom, which was whenever I left grad school. I was 3.5 years in to a PhD, and I called you up about leaving, and you and Dad had different opinions.
I think I kind of covered that a little bit. Well, Matt was not happy in grad school, and we knew that. And he was wanting to travel. I think that was part of it. He was going to finish the coursework to get the master's coursework done. But this came up and with Adam, and he's like, I don't know what to do. I was going to travel, and I don't know if I should do this. And my husband was like, finish grad school. You've got this. They're giving you all this money, and you don't have to pay anything. And this is just follow that line. And I just really encouraged him to give this a shot, because it sounded like such an experience, kind of like what Hu was saying. You can't learn this. You have to do it. And the whole idea of creating your own destiny is so huge to me. Nobody cares about your destiny more than you do. And when you're working for yourself, you're working really hard, but if you have a passion for it, 80 hours a week doesn't feel like 80 hours a week, because it's just,
Feels like life.
well, it does, but it's just, there's such an enjoyment and a reward when you're passionate about what you're going to do. And if you don't do that, you're never going to be happy. It's always going to be feeling like a job. So I was all for him just going for it. Of course, I thought it would be 16 weeks and over. That was a 16-week program, and I thought, okay, well, then you come back, then you can, go back to school or get a job or whatever. I didn't want him to live that far away, of course, but, that's what happened, and I think it was the best decision he ever made. And then, I heard, I don't think I met the guy from
Pecan?
Script, yeah. But I heard you talking about the community with Y Combinator, and that was so huge because all of these guys are so smart and so passionate, and they all ended up living in the same apartment building. So it was like a big fraternity. There you go, the party's back, But that was huge, I think, for all of them, in helping them stay focused and stay positive, and, because everybody has their, it's it's not easy, and everybody has their downs, but they can go and talk to their friends and get an idea or lift them up or something like that. But
I think that's a great place to transition to questions. So hopefully you guys have some questions that have been percolating while we were going through this. Let's hear them.
So Evan had a question for us. He has a couple.
Evan?
Yeah, he gave it to me in advance.
Cool.
One was, what's your favorite part of a startup?
I'll answer and then I'd like you to answer too.
Okay.
So that'll be interesting for me. My favorite part about a startup is creating a workplace and a work environment that is the type of place that I would want to work. So there's smart people that are being healthy, that are challenging each other, that have flexibility around what time they get into the office, around when they take vacation, and feel like they can be the best, like that this environment is the place where they can be the best person and be the best at what they want to be. That's my favorite thing about a startup.
I think that that is his favorite part. He just told you that. But I just remember when he was doing work at NASA, the thing that frustrated him the most was he would have these ideas, but he had to kind of go up the ladder to get his information out there because he wasn't experienced. He didn't have the tenure, that type of thing. I remember that being really frustrating to you, the biggest part.
And they would close their doors at 2 o'clock and start playing video games. That's where your tax dollars are going.
So.
It's awful. Lunar Lion, like that's the future.
The favorite part of, for me, of a startup, I think, so planes, the majority of the time when they're flying are off course, right? They're constantly readjusting, friction, wind, whatever is affecting it. So I feel like a startup is kind of, you have a goal or destination, you're constantly off course, but you have some sort of goal that you're trying to achieve. So I like that aspect. I think the only twist to it is that the plane's not built and you're in air and you're building it while you're flying it. And stuff's going wrong. You're like,
Oh, we forgot the right wing.
Stuff's going wrong.
Our engine's going to run out of gas.
Yeah, our engines are running out of gas.
That's the most common one.
Yeah. Or everyone doesn't, is doing their own thing. So I really like that aspect of being able to build while you're flying.
We lost our lead mechanic.
Oh no, he's gone. I got to find a new one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's probably the biggest one. It's like immediate gratification and looking at a problem, solving it with still having a long-term goal of what you're trying to hit.
Yeah. What else? There's got to be more questions.
You mentioned that you didn't really get into career fairs up at the Rice Jordan Center. You had some suggestions for students as to a better way to approach job hunting. What would it be right now?
Yeah, so the one example I gave was...
Oh, wait, the question was, if you didn't hear it, what are the alternative ways to look for a job other than going to the BJC for career fair?
Yeah. I'd love to actually hear from you guys too, if you could. Good ways to reach you or that you think to find careers. So for me, it is such a simple thing. So few people do it, which is to at Brezina on Twitter, you can send me something and say, hey, I think you're doing this wrong, and here's how I would do it. And here's like a one-page document. You maybe spent like 3 hours on it, but you have a chance to blow me away, or you have a chance to blow somebody else away. And you can literally reach CEOs. You can reach these people that are going to make a decision very easily. And not that many people take the initiative to do that. And so that's just so much better than giving me the same resume that you've given 30 other companies. And that's why something like the career fair, I don't think it helps find the right matches that well. They're screening on the wrong things. And yeah, this is something Hu and I talk about a lot. Like, we want to find more ways to help people find their passion and then find the places where their passion can thrive. I think it's a really broken system. Like, our friend told us the stats, like 70% of people like hate their job, or like something that's like really negative.
Very unhappy.
Very unhappy in their jobs. And you spend a third of your life there. Like, that's a travesty. We need to fix that. So what other ideas? What do you guys think are good ways to get jobs, meet companies? Do you have an idea?
I mean, I really do think internships is a big one, right?
Oh,
Just get
we
your
do
foot
this
in the
all-
door.
Yes. So tell them what we do at our company.
Yeah, so we basically we hired about half of our company through our internship program. Marketing, designers, even engineers. So what we have are 3-month programs. Interns come in, they learn a lot of what they do on the job. They get a final project, they get responsibilities. After the final project, we assess how they did. Usually it's a class of people, and the best of the class stays either in a contractor position or is offered a full-time position. Initially when we did it, they were unpaid, and then we started paying because we started making some more money. But
They're small stipends. I mean, you're not getting paid a lot to come be an intern with us.
But what's great about it is you get a ton of experience, you get one-on-one with key people that are, invested in your success. And we've gotten some fantastic people through that.
Like,
and,
phenomenal.
Yeah. And so I'm a big proponent of growing your team.
And then some of the talent that we said, hey, this isn't right for us, or they didn't like really stand out to us, they still got this amazing experience. We had one guy that was, left us, was able to talk about his experience with us. He did one experiment that ran really well with us. I bet he talked about this at his interview. And he just got a job at Optimizely, another startup. So, yeah. Hey, I'll come be a free intern for 2 months. Like, I'll work. One of our girls was a bartender at a jazz club in the evenings because we weren't paying her in the beginning. She hustled, and now she's like full-time, kicking butt, running stuff. Super excited about her.
Yeah, so you said out of college, you're really focused on finding a location where like creative minds could collaborate. So you went to grad school, and your mom talked about the city. I was just wondering, like, what any of you three thought was the best place to find that location.
Depends what you're interested in.
Oh, so the question was, where can you find a location that fulfills creativity and innovation?
You can intersect with other creative people.
Yeah. Okay.
So university's one. You guys have that here. A lot of people will leave university and never find something with this many like-minded people again. That's also really sad. Like, if you're stuck in some suburb, you drive just to your office, you only interact with people that are at your company, and then drive home to your own house, and like, you're just not you're not sharing ideas, you're not interacting. So you want to put yourself in places where you can interact with other people. Cities, you have way more of that, right? You have so many events going on where you can explore a passion in jazz or ballet or sports. You can you find these third spaces like cafes and bars and even civic centers where people come that share ideas. But you have to seek out those places. I can't say like, oh, you should definitely be in Atlanta. Like, Atlanta might be the best place if you're interested in a certain type of thing that's really going on there. Like, there's a lot of energy stuff going on in Colorado. I think Denver and Boulder are amazing places if you're interested in like wind energy, other types of future energy. If you're really interested in finance, like, I would probably go to New York. If you're really interested in tech startups, I would probably go to San Francisco. If you were really interested in, what are some others?
Microbreweries, go to Portland.
Yeah.
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 True.
Or urban gardening, go to Portland.
Yeah.
If you're really interested in,
Even advertising media. If you want to be an actor, I think you gotta go LA.
yep.
But I think one thing to help out with that stuff, you don't necessarily need to move in right away, right? You can find friends, crash on a couch. We had a guy from Penn State, he was an InnoBlue, Drew,
Yeah.
who moved out there a few months ago and was basically just hopping around trying to figure out what he wanted to do. And his strategy was interesting. He ended up volunteering for a bunch of organizations that were throwing events. One of those organizations was Growth Hackers. So he's really into marketing and product and things like that. So he volunteered for events, got access to the event and the speakers, and organizing it was one of the key people putting him on because he did stuff like this.
Yeah.
Super easy.
Brilliant.
Networked was the guy that essentially was helping put on events and then started talking to other people that came to the events to hear from the speaker, and actually just got a job at SurveyMonkey.
We should have him come talk next year. Like, he
Yeah.
is like
And just hustled.
hustled.
So that was cool. And also looking at like meetup.com is pretty good to find people that are interested in what you're interested in, and then going to those meetups. Like I'm really interested in Bitcoin right now. So I go to like Bitcoin meetups and events and conferences. So, and you can find those nodes. You just got to look around and then, go.
Immerse yourself.
Yeah.
There was somebody up high there that had their hand.
Nope. No. Any other questions? I'll repeat it this time too.
How do you keep your team focused through the beginning of the startup?
How do you keep your team focused through the beginning of a startup? First thing I'll say is it doesn't end with the beginning. It's always a challenge. Dave has 120 employees. Do you have-
120?
Do you struggle with keeping people focused? How do we keep people focused to it?
I mean, I think, in the very beginning, you're like, you give it a lot of autonomy. Like, here's our goal, go figure it out. One thing that's interesting about our business, we have a calendar that basically affects our business. All the holidays, Mother's Day,
We know
coming
them
up. I don't know if you know.
Send your
Easter's
mom a card.
coming up. Send your mom a card. Easter, holiday, Father's Day. So we have these deadlines that we have to hit that help. So having some sort of deadline, even if you have to make it up, keeps people on track. People want to feel that there's progress being made, so that's really important. Even if you have to change up the environment a little bit too. We constantly are changing around the office just to have change and moving things along.
You have 200 people.
Right, and I do kind of what I think Matt does as well, is one-on-ones, just making sure that your employees or your coworkers are happy, what their goals are, their future goals are, where they want to be, just being in tune to them, I think is really important.
And then constantly reiterating the mission as well as the metrics that you are tracking. So we do this at one-on-ones, and then every Friday we have a company meeting, and it probably sounds like a broken record, but I think it gives everybody like a very firm understanding of the railroad tracks we're on, where they're like, yes, we're moving this number because that's our goal, and it all ties into helping the world be more thoughtful. We constantly pound away at that mission and the metrics we're tracking. That helps focus.
When you guys launch a new app in your product line, how do you use existing apps to acquire new users?
Ooh, tactical question.
Yeah. So the question was, how do you use existing apps to cross-promote your new apps that you're building? So we have three main channels that we actually work on. One's email, that works really well for us. We do a lot with social media, so Facebook and Twitter, Instagram, Pinterest. You actually have to go where your customers are, so what works for us might not work for you. And then we have a pretty robust referral system that people end up telling a lot of other people at through the App Store. There's some SEO as well. So I think intrinsically our product creates two-way virality.
But I will say it's hard. So after somebody checks out in, say, Inc., we will then, after they've used ink a couple times, we'll then throw them basically an ad that says you should send a Sesame gift as well. And so we optimize for like when should we show send a Sesame gift versus try to quickly just get them to send another card. And that's through A/B testing, we kind of optimize that. But still, it's like you get like 1 or 2% of people to cross promote. It's really hard to get them to move over to another app. And I think it just takes a lot of time hitting them with the same message over and over again through multiple channels. So they follow you on Facebook and they see, hey, this cool gift set came out. Maybe I should check out that Sesame thing. Then they send an ink card and then they see another thing. It's like, hey, send a Sesame gift today. It's, it's 20% off. Now there's like some urgency around why should I do it right now? We're looking at putting timers in there where it's like, hey, if you buy in the next hour on this new app, you're going to get 50% off. So it's a hard question. We're always trying new things. What else have we done?
What about the scanning, and then you get, when the person scans it, when they receive the card, then they get a credit?
Yeah, so that can help too. That's kind of like the referral stuff Hua was talking about. When you send a postogram or you can scan the card and then you get a credit towards either an ink card or a postogram. So a lot of people are like, oh, I can use these credits other places, and they'll use it. My mom's a good user of our app, she knows.
I'm a tester.
Yeah. Anybody else wants to be a tester, let me know. Yeah, so these are kind of different tactics we've used. Yeah. So how much planning do you undertake before you make one of these leaps, like leaving finance or leaving grad school? And or is it enough just to have a goal and jump off the cliff?
Yeah, I think there's two ways to tackle that. One, practically, we think a lot about runway in startups. So runway is basically how much time or length of time you have left until your startup dies, usually through lack of money. You can apply that personally, right? So knowing that you have enough money to get by in 3, 6, 12 months, however long it's going to take to build your startup, I think that's important. While bringing down your costs, so a lot of stuff that gets tossed around is ramen profitability, just being able to keep your costs low, make enough money so you're feeding yourself and making your business happen. So I think that's really important as far as just taking care of yourself, because you can't take care of your business if you can't take care of yourself. And then with respect to actually the business and planning it, we had a business plan. I think it's helpful to create a business plan to get your thoughts down on paper. And if you're pitching people, you can actually show them something. Like, this is just not me babbling. This is a clear idea of what we're trying to execute, and it gives you, you're going to go off track. It happens, but at least you have something to help you plan. Those are a couple things that help me.
Back to Drew, who came out of San Francisco and just got the job at SurveyMonkey. He worked at Accenture for like a year. I guarantee I know, because I talked to him through the whole process, his goal wasn't to be Accenture forever. While he was there, he was like squirreling away money. Do you know the average American spends over 25% of their income on their car and associated, it's gasoline, insurance, etc. Great way to cut your costs is like remove that car from your life. He did those things, and I bet when he came out to San Francisco, he probably had about 6 months of runway. I bet it was about that, and he got job offers and he turned them down because he had runway, and he was like, I want the right job. If it would have gotten up to 6 months, he might have been like, he'll take the next job that he can get. But focusing on your runway is actually really important. I kind of always do this. When I was in grad school, I had a lawn mowing business and was investing in stocks from age 12. So I actually had money, and I still would go to Chipotle and not get the guacamole because it was like an extra $1.85. Because I was like, I just want to have the flexibility. I never bought a new car.
Tell them about the car you got.
What, in high school?
Yeah.
Oh, I got a beat up old truck that didn't
With
run.
no floorboards. It was like
Yeah, I had to fix it. Yeah, it's just like really cheap because then I could control my own destiny. Like the worst thing you can do when you graduate, and there's a lot of people who are going to be graduating soon, is going out and buying that new car where you then have to pay $500 or $200 a month. And so then how do you leave a company when you're like, well, I have to, or how do you leave a job when you have that? Like, otherwise, if you don't have that, you can like move back into mom's basement, eat her food, and literally your burn is gonna be like $100 a month. I bet everybody in here could get by on that and do it for like 6 months while they're trying to plan the next thing. So I guess that we're talking about the money thing a lot, but it's generally the limiting factor that keeps people from being able to do the jump.
Yeah. And also just start making progress. Like,
If
you
you
can put something out and test it right away.
Yeah. If you want to talk about it more specifically, just hit me up at Brezina, and then we can switch to email.
Question was, how important is it to be in San Francisco if you have a startup, right?
Do you want to answer or you want me to?
I think it's, what's great is the startup movement is moving everywhere, right? We're here in Happy Valley with some amazing people, and you guys are like the entrepreneurs of the future. It's fantastic. And there are things out here now that you can be here and then fly to San Francisco if you want, or come back. I personally think being in San Francisco helps a lot. Costs are a bit prohibitive, but if you can get your runway extended, you can go out there and figure it out. But Boulder is also a pretty good community that's coming up, and they have Techstars out there, so there's one there. I think it's really important to figure out like why you want to be there too. Oftentimes it's good to be in front of the customers that you want to be helping, and so if you're doing an energy thing, maybe you need to be in Atlanta. I don't know. So.
Yeah, so the best things about San Francisco are the capital scene, basically venture capital and angel investors. That's why I moved there. I was in Boston, which is also like generally a good startup place, but they were like much less likely to give a 25-year-old millions of dollars than San Francisco, where it happened quite quickly. But not all businesses actually need outside investment, right? Like not all businesses should have outside investment. And you can actually build these bootstrap companies at a much cheaper rate where your rent's not, no joke, like $4,000 or $5,000 a month, which it can be in San Francisco. So the top reason is capital. I'd say the second reason is depending on the type of talent you want to hire, a lot of it's out there. So great engineers that have had experience building mobile apps, like I've hired, I've moved 6 or 7 people just in this company alone to San Francisco for that reason, from all over the country. And just yesterday I talked to somebody from Detroit and from Canada that I will move to San Francisco as well. So it's kind of attracted all these developers of that talent. But if you're trying to work on like fracking, like I bet there's a lot of that talent in Pennsylvania right now. And so you don't need to be in San Francisco if you're trying to build a fracking startup. Don't work on fracking, please.
Yeah, please don't.
When you created Sincerely, were you thinking of creating like a business, or were you thinking of it as creating a product? Like the business would be like connecting people with like tangible goods, or like was it just one product you had in mind?
The question was, when you were creating Sincerely, were you trying to create a product or were you trying to create a business? The honest answer is I was trying not to do anything. I was trying to like take a break because I just left my other company and I was traveling and I was trying to enjoy life. And I had a lot of runway and I was like, so I was all over the world. And I would be in these places like Yosemite looking at buffalo, and I could not stop thinking about this app that I wanted to build. So it came to me. The place that I came up with it was when I was in Maui, and I was realizing that I wasn't using I brought my DSLR and I brought my new iPhone, and I wasn't taking pictures with my DSLR, which is a way better camera, but I was taking it with my iPhone because I could do all these cool things with my iPhone. And I was like, this phone with a great camera on it is like a really big deal. It's a really big deal. And being the entrepreneur capitalist that I am, I was like, how do I make money off this? What are the cool things that I could create? And I said, I could go create a social network around these photos. Or I could create a business where we actually create a product with those photos. And so then I looked at a bunch of products that you could create with photos, and there's like the bags you can put like the cat photo on and stuff. And I was like, I don't want to make that. like all the Zazzle type products, throw a photo on it. But then I basically, I don't know how it came, but I thought of the postcard, and I was like, holy crap, like this is the simplest, least expensive physical product you can buy on the planet, and it's social. Like you send it to other people. Like it's the same. It's like basically the same price as like a pack of gum. A pack of gum can kind of be social too, but like this thing has your photo on. It's highly personalized. You can create it with this new technology, and you can send it anywhere in the world for 99 cents. And I was like, that's a big deal. And if I can get people doing that, like I'm helping the world be more thoughtful. Like I can send my grandparents a card. My mom will get cards. Like it's more meaningful than a text message because it goes up on a refrigerator and then she walks by it every day. And the text messages get lost back in history. And I was like, that's pretty cool. And then in terms of the business, I was like, that alone could be a decent business. But if I get all these people doing it, I have their addresses, physical addresses of them and the people they care about, I'm going to get them to send flowers and wine and chocolate. And that's what we're building. Any other questions?
How soon did you contact the legal team?
The question was, how soon did I contact the legal team? And there could be a lot to that question. Generally, that's not that important part of the process. I did it pretty early because I was trying to work on a licensing deal with Polaroid. So I was going to use their brand. We're actually going to launch it with their name. That fell apart. So we created our own brand, and it's probably better this way. So I got them involved in that. And then honestly, like LLC documents, we started as an LLC. You can do those online, LegalZoom. So truthfully, I had a lawyer pretty early. You don't need one that early. I used to always think that like running a business was this stuff, like law and then like finance and spreadsheets and like all that kind of stuff. That's like the most boring part of business ever. Like I hate that stuff.
It's true.
Right? Like, and so I thought that was business, and that stuff ends up like you just hire people to do that. Like that's like a service. If we could not do any of that stuff, like we try to avoid as much of it as possible. And you can actually focus on exciting things like vision for a product, actual user experience and customers, and then your people that are building the company and the team. That's where you get your real bang for the buck. That's what you should focus on.
There's another question here. What are the biggest hurdles or hurdle of running a startup?
Well, that's a big question.
Yeah.
I have
okay.
something that
Yeah,
I wrote
do
down
it.
for that. So one of the things that happens with the startup is like a death by 1,000 cuts. Usually it's self-inflicted. So that could be from a co-founder leaving or just arguments with your employees on different visions and things like that. So I came up with an acronym that I thought would be helpful. It's called MATE, so you have good mates around. So with a team, you should know that what their motivation is. So if you're managing people or you have people under you, you should know what motivates each other. You should also make sure you're properly aligned in vision, in motivation, in goal, as well as have a lot of trust and transparency. I think that helps a lot. If you're open, completely open, and you're transparent, you trust each other, then there's no reason to fall out of that. And then having the right expectations and letting go of, or eliminating ego. So that helps for you guys starting companies with your friends especially, because that can go bad. It does. I've had it happen. So
Let's take one more question, and then we're out of time.
Kind of question for all three of you. What are some like daily habits of your work day that you feel like that actually make like productive?
What are daily actions or things that we do that we think are good life hacks to be more productive?
great. For me, I batch a lot of things, and so I try to do all my email in one time or a couple times during the day. Otherwise, you're constantly opening it and looking at it, or blocking off time, like block scheduling for something like my bills once a month, get all done this time. And then learning keyboard shortcuts is probably like by far something you should be doing all the time. Whether it's Gmail, Photoshop, Sublime, whatever, you need to know every shortcut because you're going to be using those tools every day. So try just to learn a shortcut a day on the tools that you use the most. And there's tons of little Chrome extensions that help with that now. So
I think you just have to really be disciplined and schedule work hours. When you're working for yourself, it's really easy to lose focus and to, well, I can do that tomorrow. I'll go play tennis now. You know, you have to have work hours and play hours, but if you take too many play hours, you have to make them up and work. So just be really regular about that. It's your business.
For me, there's two things. The first is to minimize your commute. There's no more of a wasted time of human energy and effort and natural resources and whatever else than a commute. My commute is an 8-minute bike ride. So I don't waste any time doing that. And it's a bike ride, so I actually feel great when I leave and arrive at the office. And then the other thing I'll say is you will be more productive in your meetings, at all the work that you do if you exercise. So make sure to have exercise in your life.
I have one more, actually. And try not to eat alone. You know, if you need to grab a bite or coffee or meal, you know, get a friend, meet up for a drink, get a bunch of people together. We do that all the time. That's the best place to exchange ideas and get thoughts out, communicate.
It's a great one. Cool. Thanks, everybody, for the awesome questions and for having us.
Thank you. Good job, guys.